Raise your fists together. I am somebody. I may be poor, but I am somebody.
Red and yellow, brown, black, and white. We're all precious in God's sight. Everybody is somebody. Stop the violence. Save the children. Stop bullying. Save the children.
Hold your head high. Stick your chest out. You can make it. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive.
Hi, I'm Dr. Sonia Whitaker of the Rainbow Push Coalition. Merry Christmas, and thank you so much for your support of our organization. And to our volunteers, you have indeed made the difference. We would not have been able to accomplish all that we have been able to accomplish without your continued support. And so as you plan to take some time to relax and enjoy your family, friends, and other loved ones, we ask that you grab your calendar and save the date for January 18th, 2025, and plan to be with us at headquarters in Chicago as we engage in a day of service and learning. And we'd also like you to save the date for January the 20th, 2025, so that you may be with us as we maintain our tradition of celebrating the birth of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., beginning at 8:30 a.m. at Soldier Field. In order to attend, please visit rainbowpush.org and register for your seat as soon as possible. Now, if you're not already a member of the organization, we need you. Please visit rainbowpush.org and become a member. And if you've been a member and are simply in need of renewing your membership, we ask that you do so. Thank you so much for your continuous support. And remember, keep hope alive.
Good morning. Great to be back home. I have missed you all. I understand what they mean by the swamp in D.C. now. First, giving respect to my father and mother, Reverend Jesse Jackson, for all their great work and having created this platform, this institution where our communities can get together to give you a perspective. I just got back in this morning from having been in Washington for the last 2 weeks. And let me just give you a short thing of what's happened in 2 weeks, and then specifically I want to talk about something you may be interested in on the budget crisis, the one that was just averted and the one that's coming. In the last 2 weeks, and you know the Rudyard Kipling poem on If, the challenge to walk amongst kings and also keep the common touch, that one morning you're meeting at a table with Mr. Bill Gates, one of the wealthiest men in the world, who has a philanthropy that doles out almost $9 billion a year to deal with health crisis. Here's an individual that's found his fortune in high technology, but yet now is the second largest resource for healthcare around the world. What an individual is doing. So when you talk about this order of magnitude of wealth that's out here, and you talk about income inequality, some people are just either not understanding, or some people are just a plain fool. Now, when they talk about wealthy people, I step to the side because I know they're not talking about me monetarily. So when we talk about raising taxes, some people need to understand on who exactly should be paying taxes. And I thank God for the philanthropy and the generosity and the compassion of Mr. Gates, having singularly decided to do this and has stepped in front of all governments and wealthy people around the world. And the impact he is making on Africa has been absolutely tremendous and needs to be applauded. I've sent him a letter and I'll be glad to share that with you. I spent the last 2 years on the Foreign Affairs Committee for the United States Department of Representatives. In those 2 years, In the last 2 hours of having breakfast with a group of people, congressmen at the U.S. Capitol, with Mr. Bill Gates, he spoke of Africa more in 2 hours than I've heard in the Foreign Affairs Committee in 2 years. I just want to give you the facts. And then to have traveled to Africa several times now on foreign affairs, Mr. George W. Bush is enormously popular in Africa. There is a piece of legislation called PEPFAR on the Preparedness for Emergency Relief. Mr. George Bush is singularly solely responsible with other members of the Black Caucus and members of the Congress and passing the legislation that has saved over 25 million Africans with a piece of legislation. This thing can have some strange twists and turns. So I'm just telling you, if you see me talking to some people, I want you to know why. Don't judge me until you know what we got out of the deal. And I'm going to talk over here and talk over there, and people say, why are you talking to the right wing? I said, because I come from a hard-hit district on the south side of Chicago that has one of the highest concentration of safety net hospitals in the entire nation. Safety net hospitals simply means it's the lowest level of care in order to be designated as a hospital. So when we don't have maternity wards designated in our hospitals, when Black women have mortality in birth that are 3 times the national average, when we have West Englewood, where life expectancy of Black men, as we've seen from our young brother today, that was a 17-year-old tortured victim of John Bird, that's an outrage and should be taken before the United Nations. That's human rights abuse right here in our own city. When we've got life expectancy discrepancy between 60, 65 years in West Englewood and 90 years in the Streeterville neighborhood, 25 to 30 years. That's outrageous. When we've got an outbreak of HIV and hepatitis in South Shore and no one's talking about it, and we see brand new hospitalizations being increased all around this city, all around this country, $1 and $6 in the United States now is spent in health care, and we don't have hospitals going up in our neighborhood. Is it that we're too Black, too poor, don't deserve to live? There's a fight coming. Now, let me be very focused in my conversation now on what is happening in Washington, D.C. We just got through passing what is called a CR, a continuing resolution. All that simply means is the president puts forth a budget and the Congress has the right to approve it to continue the funding. When they don't agree to the budget, we have to do a continuing resolution to say the checkbook will remain open. So what should happen is you should propose a budget and the Congress should fund it. That's only happened 3 times in the last 47 years. So we're going every 90 days for continuing resolutions to keep the government opening round by round by round. What's the fight about? The fight about is who should pay and what should be the American standard of living. Now, what happened the other day, and I don't like to go off script so much, but what you saw happen yesterday is you saw President Elon Musk and Vice President Donald Trump try to hijack the Congress. Hey, Deb. Love you, Dad. Thank you for loving on Dad every day. So I was just sharing, Dad, what happened the other day in Washington, D.C. is we saw President Elon Musk and Vice President Donald Trump. President Elon Musk, and why do I call him that? Because there should be 3 branches of government: the executive, legislative, and the judicial. But then there's also what's sometimes called the 4th branch of government, which is called media. because media can distort the view from which you see. And that's all that you can say, that from what I see and from what you believe. So when you start getting these seats, you have to condition your words very carefully, because people will say, but that's what you said. So you have to say, this is what I understand to be the truth at this time from what you've told me. Before you quote me on what they said that they left out. It was not the omission, it was the omission of what they didn't say. So stay focused. Mr. Musk has contempt for the institution of government. Mr. Trump has a misunderstanding of the institution of government and not much regard for it. So now when Mr. Trump has put together President Trump-elect, we still have a sitting president in Joe Biden. What they have done is now they are filling the cabinet with the richest cabinet in American history. I was looking in the style section the other day. One of these undersecretaries is now buying a $38 million house. Can you imagine getting ready to take on a job where you don't need the money? You're going to town and just out of your spare change, you go buy a $38 million house in Washington, D.C. So you're wondering, why do these rich people want to be all around the power? The congressional salary is $174,000. You have to keep 2 houses. You have to pay for your own health care on the Affordable Care Exchange. There's no free health care in the Capitol that you may have thought. I believed that myself until I had to buy that $900 a month plan, and I'm thankful for that, because the government brought down $600, or at 58, I'd be paying $1,500 a month. We need to make sure we have Medicare for all. Everyone needs a break on this health care. But what you're going to see is this is contempt for government. Mr. Elon Musk has now made over $130 billion since election day. If you were to take his, not the last year, since election day, if you were to take out his earnings since election day and give that to some individual, that would be the 4th wealthiest person in the United States of America. How did he gain his wealth? He's born in South Africa. He said in his book that he had 2 ambitions, one of which was to electrify the nation, and the second of which was to make sure that there was another place that he could inhabit Mars, so that humans, in case we exhausted life on Earth, would have a place to go. But how did he make his money? He made his money out of the technology, and specific. There was an electric tax placed on cars that were gas in California, that every time you bought a $30,000 car, $2,000 had to go towards his electrification program in Tesla. He benefited initially from a $500 million Department of Energy government grant. That's one. In this Department of DOGE, Doge, Doggy, whatever. Misunderstanding of government, there is no Department of Government Efficiency. There will not be a Department of Government Efficiency. He just announced 2 billionaires, one of Indian ancestry, Mr. Vivek Ramaswamy, who also benefited from being minority status when he had to go to school, and now he has written a program and a book talking about he is the father of anti-wokeness. How shameful and disgraceful. Mr. Elon Musk has called these diversities initiative, he said it's racism. He's called woke racism. What's coming now is the fight of our lifetime, and I'm going to tell you something. Good news is on the way. Under the leadership of Leader Hakeem Jeffries and the Democratic Party, we shut down his goal of getting the debt limit raised. What was he trying to do? What he said was, I want to make sure you raise the limit by over $5 trillion past March 15th. I want you to raise it until 2027. No, this expires on March 15th. So this bill went through March 14th. So now when he tries to come to office and pass out another tax cut to give the first $1 trillion to his wealthy beneficiaries, now he has to say, I want to raise tax, I want to give away money and lower taxes. Good luck, Mr. President. We know your game and what you're coming for. Hakeem Jeffrey said not no. He told us in our leadership meeting, hell no. AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she said she was in that same meeting. And Miss Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she says, bring it on, he's gonna feel maximum pain. Congresswoman Maxine Waters was in that same meeting. She says, Donald J. Trump knows my name, and I'm waiting on him. He's gonna have a wonderful reception once he gets back into that seat. We have one president at a time, and that's President Joseph Robin Biden. It's not Donald J. Trump. And let me tell you the laugh. Keep on calling him President Elon Musk and Vice President Donald J. Trump. Remind him that Elon Musk is younger, smarter, much richer by 100 or 200 times, and then he's going to be so mad, he's going to tell Mr. Musk, you got to leave the stage, because there can only be one narcissist on the stage at a time.
We're excited to get more people involved in Rainbow Push, supporting the programs of Push for Excellence and the Citizenship Education Fund. If you're interested in impacting public policies, if you believe in the scholarships that we give to thousands of students each and every year, you can become a policymaker by becoming a member of Rainbow Push right now. For an annual membership of $35, or if you're a student or senior, $15, you can help us make a difference in the lives of millions. How do you become a member? Visit our website at rainbowpush.org and press join. Or maybe you'd like to support us. You can text the word PUSH, that's PUSH, to 41444 on your cell phone, and you can give any amount you feel comfortable giving. You can also call us at 773-256-2775, or go to rainbowpush.org and push donate. Wherever you are, you can support us as we keep pushing for you.
Everybody, you need to go to this church on the west side of Chicago. The largest tributes on stained glass in the world to the martyrs of the U.S. Civil Rights Movement are in this church. And we thank God for this brilliant theologian, preacher, activist. And his wife is so involved in the church. His children are ministers in the church, and they minister in the community. They live right there. We want you to get over to the new Mount Pilgrim Missionary Baptist Church, and they are missionaries at that church. And of course, he is part of the family here. We can never stop working for Reverend Jackson, can we? Come on, everybody, give it up for this brilliant preacher, the anointed Reverend Dr. Marshall Hash, the professor. Come on, give it up, everybody. You can do better than that. Give it up.
Fix this. Oh, bless the Lord, oh my soul, and all that within me, bless his holy name. Somebody know the Lord is still good. His mercy is everlasting, and his truth yet endures to all generations. What a marvelous, marvelous celebration and commemoration, not just a holiday, but a holy day. These holy days. And so we're grateful. I want you to know that this is the Rainbow Push Coalition Founders Month, and you have these envelopes. My daddy was from Mississippi. He used to call them envelopes. Y'all got these envelopes, and we want to make sure that if we're not a member, we become a member of Rainbow Push. If we ever needed a push, now is the time. And so make sure you do that. That's going to be collected on the day as we continue this work in this season. And of course, we're grateful to have the one and only, our champion, the Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson Sr. Indefatigable, never gives up, never gives in. And so many of us that he has mentored down through the years. And I want you to know he looked good today. And we thank God for his life and his continuing legacy and for his incredible family. Listen, we're going to move quickly, but it has been an informative afternoon, and we're just going to deposit a word just briefly. In our tradition on these Saturday morning forums, Reverend Jackson always has a preacher. And so we want to represent that part of our tradition with a preached word on this morning. And looking just briefly, and you can read it, it's one of the great passages. It's my favorite passage is Luke chapter 2. Luke chapter 2, and if I had a tag to that whole text, I would call it the sign of Christmas, just because of what happens in that text. Now when you read it, go home. I want you to notice the first verse. You're going to hear the name Caesar Augustus, who is the great emperor who unifies the Roman Empire on 3 continents, Africa, in Asia Minor, and in Southern Europe. He is the emperor. He is the almighty. He is the powerful imperial leader of a Roman Empire that is at its height, at its zenith. And we would call him, in that season, the most famous man in the world, Caesar Augustus. People would not only know his name on the 3 continents, on the far-flung provinces of the Roman Empire, they would also know what he looked like, because his face was on the coins, on the money that you use as the currency on 3 continents across the powerful Roman Empire. He had power, he had wealth, he had popularity. He was the most famous man in the world 2,000 years ago. But by the end of verse 20 in Luke 2, 1 through 20, we meet another person, a baby, who's born outside the inn to a poor family, who is moving from one small township to a place called Bethlehem to try to get the boot off their donkey, to pay their tribute, their taxes, and the woman is with child. And while they are in motion, while they are in Bethlehem, which to this day is a ghetto, she brings forth a child, and the child is wrapped in what somebody calls swaddling clothes, but really wrapped in rags, lying in an oxen trough. And my dad was a country preacher. He would put it this way: the oxen kept him warm. And so look at the contrast. The most famous man in the world in verse number 1 and verse 20, the least known person in the Roman Empire. If you were to bet the ranch on who would be the most famously known person, the most powerful person 2,000 years later, your rational thinking would have told you to bet the ranch on Caesar Augustus. But your extra rational senses, when you understand the power of God, you would have not made a choice that simple. You would have to wait and see what God is going to do with the baby wrapped in rags. And so to tap somebody next to you, this how we be preaching, you know, in the, tell them, don't bet the ranch yet. Don't bet the ranch yet. Don't pick the emperor too soon. And it reminds me of this season that we live in. We just heard this incredible report from our congressman telling us some of what we saw and interpreting for us how goofy. I'm trying to think of a deep word. That's all I came up with. To have somebody that nobody ever elected to anything parading across the nation, across the world, as if we elected Elon Musk to anything. Who made his money in the apartheid system, the emerald mines of Zambia. Never elected to anything. Indicative of what? Indicative that America's greatest sin doesn't really have anything to do with a woman's control of her body, who people love. The greatest sin in the American culture is idolatry. The worship of money. See, the New Testament is really the beginning of the modern world, because when you read what Jesus said, he didn't say you can't serve God or the devil. He said no one can have two masters. You can't serve God and money, because the real rival that God has for the hearts of women and men is money. And here we are with a person nobody elected to anything. Talking about an immigrant parading around with one of his children on his shoulders down the halls of our Congress, disrespecting every decorum, threatening to shut down the government, claiming to be in charge of a department when only Congress can set up departments. There is no department of government efficiency. But it's because he's the richest man in the world. $400 trillion. Talking about $1 billion for 400, on its way to 400 trillion, okay. $400 billion, almost a half a trillion. Talking about obscenity. It's obscene. And to think that the poorest people in the country think that these billionaires have their interests at heart. On the West Side, we call that the three-card money. You've been had. You've been hoodwinked. You've been bamboozled. Dr. King, the last sermon, Reverend Jackson knows he was going to preach in his briefcase on April 4th, 1968, why America may go to hell. I would like to extend that thought from Dr. King, 1968, and suggest why America may now be in hell, or at least headed toward a state more hellish than we can imagine. How do we know we're in hell? When the poorest people catch the most hell, it means that hell has arrived. Jesus said, as you've done to the least of these, he said, the last shall be first. He said, the Spirit of Yahweh is upon me, because he has smeared me with the oil of anointing to bring good news to the poor, to the brown, the bound, the broken, the blind, the bruised. When the poorest people are discarded, it is a sign that the kingdom of God is far from us. I'm done, but we call that zip code predestination. How do we know it's a hellish system? Because I can predict the outcome of an innocent child based simply on the zip code that they were born in, not on the content of their character, not on their gifts, not upon their intrinsic worth made in the image of God, but just simply what family they were born into and what part of the city and what side of the tracks they were born in. It's a hellish situation when even poor people hate poor people. And we lie to people and we act as if it's all their fault that they're in the condition that they're in, when none of us set up the systems and the structures and the institutions and the institutional racism and the institutional disinvestment and the violence of disinvestment and the violence of wholesale disinvestment in communities and schools and in children. The kingdom of God is far from us. And they're the branches of government, the executive branch, the legislative branch, both houses of Congress, immunity from the Supreme Court for presidential actions. If you're not careful, it looks like not only is all hope lost, but you will cash your own lot in with the evil and wickedness of the oppression and the exploitation. You will give in, you'll give up. So many have done that. They just decide they're going to worship money too. They're going to get by any means necessary. They're going to secure the bag no matter what it costs. They're going to give up their values. They're going to give up the values taught to us by our ancestors in Baptist Training Union and in Sunday school. They're going to forget the community. They're going to forget about the village. They're going to forget about the poor and the vulnerable and the children in broken schools. And they're going to cast their lots with the winners. But I came to tell you, don't bet the bank yet. Don't give up on the baby in the manger. I almost said, can I get a witness right there? Remember, the sign of Christmas is not in the palace, not in Rome, but outside the inn in a small town of Bethlehem in a manger. There's a baby in the manger. And thank God in the midst of it all that God has a way of turning things upside down, of flipping the script, of taking us from chapter 1 to chapter 2, verse 1 to chapter 2, verse 20. And before it's over, the angels are in the air singing joy to the world, peace on earth, goodwill. God is not finished yet. Somebody say, don't give up on the baby. Oh, God is still working. Don't give up. Don't bet the bank yet. Don't give up your values. Don't give up your faith. Don't give up what you believe in. Don't give up on love. Don't give up on one another. Don't give up on the community. God is still in charge. Tap somebody and tell them, look at the sign and keep your eye on the manger. Because when you look, number one, it'll tell you it doesn't matter what you have on, but what really matters is what you have in you. The baby got on rags, but there's a spirit inside of the baby. There's an anointing inside of the baby. There's a power from the inside out. Don't worry about what you got on, but worry about what you got in you. Somebody say, look at the signs. Not only that, number two, it's not you understand who you are in the world, but it's whose you are. In other words, this baby belonged to God. Others may overlook you and others may look down and dismiss you, but I serve a God who will claim you. Can I get a witness right there? Somebody tap somebody and tell them, neighbor, he knows where you are. Amen. It's not where you are, it's who you are. It's not who they say you are, but it's who God says you are. I'm a child of God. Well, look at the sign the last time. He started out in a manger, but it's not where you start out, it's where you end up. He didn't stay in a manger, oh Lord, but he came through Bethlehem, went down in Egypt, came back to Nazareth, baptized in the Jordan, healed the sick. Oh, yes. He raised the dead, gave sight to the blind, unstopped the deaf ears. And for all the good that he did, they arrested him. They whipped him all night long. They lynched him on a tree. They buried him in a tomb. But early, somebody say early, Sunday morning, he got up to the right hand of the Father. Somebody say, go tell it. Tell it on the mountain, over the hill, and everywhere. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. No, he's all right.
Come on, sing it again. Go, go, go tell it on the mountain, go, and everywhere, go, tell it on the mountain, that Jesus Christ is born. I said, go, 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 I said, go, 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 say, go. Tell it on the mountain, tell it over the hills and everywhere. Ooh, tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. Go, 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 go. Tell it on the mountain. While shepherds kept there watching, or silent flocks by night, behold, throughout the heavens that shone a holy light. Come on, sing. Oh, tell it on the mountain, oh, the hills everywhere.
Push Excel's goal is to inspire students to strive for excellence in education in spite of personal, family, and community challenges that they might experience. How do we do this? By advocating for educational policies that guarantee equal funding for all students without regard to race or economic standing. By engaging parents, students, and teachers in pursuing high-quality education and striving for educational excellence at every level. And by forging partnerships with community-based and public sector stakeholders in education. Now, Push Excel is a national model program with the purpose of connecting principals, parents, popular personalities, and students in a bond and to support students at every level on the educational ladder. Now, we want you to become a member of the Rainbow Push Coalition and Push Excel. Your annual membership can help us to change policies that impact students, colleges, and universities all around the country. So step up and sign up today. Membership is only $35, and if you're a student or a senior, $15. Just go to our website, rainbowpush.org, and push join to become a member or push donate to support the Push Excel program. You can also text the word Push Excel, that's PUSHEXCEL, to 41444 on your cell phone, and you can give us any amount that you feel comfortable giving or call us at 773-256-2775. Wherever you are, you can support us as we keep pushing for you. And remember to keep hope alive.
Hi, I'm Dr. Sonia Whitaker of the Rainbow Push Coalition. Merry Christmas, and thank you so much for your support of our organization. And to our volunteers, you have indeed made the difference. We would not have been able to accomplish all that we have been able to accomplish without your continued support. And so as you plan to take some time to relax and enjoy your family, friends, and other loved ones, we ask that you grab your calendar and save the date for January 18th, 2025, and plan to be with us at headquarters in Chicago as we engage in a day of service and learning. And we'd also like you to save the date for January the 20th, 2025, so that you may be with us as we maintain our tradition of celebrating the birth of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., beginning at 8:30 a.m. at Soldier Field. In order to attend, please visit rainbowpush.org and register for your seat as soon as possible. Now, if you're not already a member of the organization, we need you. Please visit rainbowpush.org and become a member. And if you've been a member and are simply in need of renewing your membership, we ask that you do so. Thank you so much for your continuous support. And remember, keep hope alive.
Thank you. Thank you so much for giving us your gifts that time. We're going to jump right in the program today because we have a lot to talk about. Before I do so, as has been indicated, I'm Dr. Sonia Whitaker on both sides, on the Push Excel and Rainbow Push side. And I would like to ask my panelists to introduce to you who they are.
Good morning. Oh, I'm a school teacher, so you have to do better than that. Good morning. I am blessed to be here this morning. I am Dr. Teresa D. Dunbar, and I am the superintendent for the state of Illinois and School District 428, and my youth are up and down the state, unfortunately, incarcerated, but getting the best that we have while they are with us. My pleasure to be here with you today.
And my name is Bilal Evans. I'm founder and executive director of the Restorative Project, a community-based organization whose mission is to create safer neighborhoods in the inner city by changing the way that young people, black and brown, deal with trauma.
And so I know we don't normally do this, but I'm going to ask you to repeat after me. And how are the children? And how are the children?
And how are the children?
Now I want you to repeat. All the children are well.
All the children are well.
And what I love about that, for those of you who do not know, there is a tribe in Africa, and the name of this tribe is the Messiah tribe. And in this tribe, what I love most about them is they pride themselves on the fact that every time they greet one another, instead of saying, hey, what's up, how you doing, they ask, and how are the children? And regardless of whether or not they have children that live in their village, they want to always be able to respond. All the children are wow. And so that's what we're here to talk about today, about the children in our country and the communities that we live and serve. Here's what we know. What we know is just over a week ago, the President of the United States of America pardoned, he made a single day act, something that never been done before in our country, and that is he commuted the sentences of 1,500 adults and pardoned 39 others. And then I said to myself, and how are the children? And I was reminded that one of the people that he pardoned was the judge that was actually involved in one of the biggest schemes in the judicial system in U.S. history. And that scheme is referred to as Kids for Cash. What I found most interesting about his statement at his sentencing is he said, the system was not corrupt, I was corrupt. And so I'm here. Since that day, I have not stopped thinking, I told you last night, about Harriet Tubman and her intent to free our people, and that she did. And so I'm going to ask my panelists and those of you who are within the sound of my voice, what is our obligation to our vulnerable? Don't we believe that they deserve the same level of grace and mercy? You talk to me about, and to us about, why this topic is so important to you, relevant to the work that you do.
Absolutely. Just for a second, if I can, out of order, I want to give grace and order and love to the back of an elder, to those that shoulders I stood on. I'm profoundly grateful to see her this morning. I'd like to say good morning and honor Dr. Joanne Roberts, one of the best, one of the greatest, one of the finest. Now, y'all got to do better than that, because you don't know what this woman went through. She was a superintendent, one of the first Blacks. So I just want to say thank you, because I appreciate you. I currently serve as the superintendent of schools for the state of Illinois, School District 428. My youth are incarcerated from 13 to 21. They are all up and down the state, every corner of Illinois. And what I know for sure is this, that no one is irredeemable. I know for sure that although they may have committed heinous crimes, they still deserve to be rehabilitated. There is still hope and mercy. And as I think about what I do, why this is so important to me is the fact that I get to interact with them every day. You see, many of us in this room, we had second chances. We did some things, we didn't get caught. But what happened to my youth was that they had environments where they came up in, and these environments drove them to do these things, okay? So I want you to hear me this morning when I say to you that no one at 13 years old commits triple murder and rape and doesn't get that from somewhere. Understand? So as adults, it is our responsibility and our fault in some ways. As the superintendent of schools, what my children receive, what they deserve, what they desire, and what they do get under my watch is a full complement of educational services. I am a real superintendent with real teachers, certified, qualified, psychologists, counselors, and my children go to school every day and receive a full complement of educational services. That's why it's important, because it could have been me.
And so thank you for sharing that, and we're going to go a little bit more into that in a second regarding the type of academic experience students don't receive in other places and what they should be receiving. Why is this topic so important to you? I'm glad about the contribution you're able to make to this discussion, sir.
Well, for me personally, I am very familiar with 428. At 17 years old, I was convicted of first-degree murder. under the Burgess and his cronies, sent to prison and spent 15 years in prison for a crime that I didn't commit. And I got my GED while I was in prison in District 428. So now they sent me to prison at 17. So it was a little bit different back then.
And so one of the reasons why I thought was important for you to contribute is you talked about restorative justice and what that means in terms of your work in this space. So can you take just a minute to talk about the importance of that for young adults who intend to return to society?
Well, I heard a wise person once say that it takes a village to raise a child. But when the children of the village feel like they're being ignored, they burn it down just to feel its warmth. And so these young men are a product of that. We talk about slavery as if its effects were so far off, and physically it was, but the mental change still remained. We've traded in the regular whips and chains for the Cadillacs, the Lexuses, the Mercedes whips,
Better say that.
and the platinum chains. So we still bound. Wow. And if they say when the blind leads the blind, they fall into a ditch. These young people weren't given the right necessary guidance because of the effects of slavery. And so that residual effect affects these young people now. And some of the kids, and when I go and visit into the youth facilities, it's like, education is offered, but it's not mandatory. So these young men sit in front of the TVs and watch the videos because they have no guidance. And then they spend those 3 or 4 years until they time out at 21, and they come home to the same thing that they left.
Let me pull from that. I think that is a perfect lead into where we need to go next. Here's what else we know. We know that researchers suggest that jail cells are built based on third grade students' test scores. And as an educator, I'm aware of the research, arguably, that if a child is not reading at or above grade level by the time he or she reaches third grade, they are highly likely to struggle academically throughout their entire academic career. And what happens as a result of that, we find that Black and brown and children experiencing the impact of poverty, which include white children, often find themselves overrepresented in disciplinary procedures and the like, and underrepresented in gifted education. And so I would like to advance the conversation to what we also know is that far too many of the children that are in the juvenile centers are Black children and brown children, which caused me to ask, if we didn't get it right in the traditional public school setting, and we know they're with you, what is our fundamental obligation to make sure that they're educated? And then, as you've alluded to, and I'll pass the mic, it's different in every state in America. In some states, it is required that they have an academic experience that is clearly spelled out and articulated to their parents, and in others, it is not. In your system, I think we should talk about what's happening in your system, because what we don't want to do is just admire problems. We want to offer suggestions. So you got 1 minute to.
So in my school district, education is mandated. School is mandated until the time they are 17, which is regular, and they can opt out. What we find is that about a little bit over 50% of them right now are special needs. Okay, and so that's all kind of things, emotional disturbance and other health impairments, etc. When they come to us, what we find is that they are irregular. They are up in arms. When they settle down, we find that this is the first time that they've had any source of love, connection, affection, and they want to go to school. That's the difference. So what do we offer them? We make sure to offer them a full complement of certified teachers so that we can test them, assess them, talk to them about their skills, and make sure that they get more, not less. And I will say this, it is a shame that the budget for a superintendent of schools for the state of Illinois for incarcerated youth is probably triple that of a regular public schools. So we know that when they're here, they're not getting it, but when they're there, I have more to give them, which means more psychologists, double the teachers, double the academic enrichment classes, double the skills, double the curriculum and instructional time. And so they're getting more. And what we find is when we drill down and meet their emotional needs at the same time, because it's a double-edged sword, okay? The mental trauma is there as well. When we address those things in tandem and connect them, then they do better.
I want to invite you to continue to fight the good fight. Great connection made here right in front of your very eyes. And don't forget that when we greet each other, we want to always be able to say back to the question posed, and how are the children? That we've done our part to make sure that all the children are well.
Get involved with the movement.
Somebody. I may be poor, but I am somebody.
Join the movement.
If you're not a member, become a member.
I am somebody.
Fighting the most important battles for freedom and justice for all.
You made us change. Oh, trying to bring closer.
Join Rainbow Push.
But you're not pushing me away.
Join the movement. Join Rainbow Push.
Hi, I'm Dr. Sonia Whitaker of the Rainbow Push Coalition. Merry Christmas, and thank you so much for your support of our organization. And to our volunteers, you have indeed made the difference. We would not have been able to accomplish all that we have been able to accomplish without your continued support. And so as you plan to take some time to relax and enjoy your family, friends, and other loved ones, we ask that you grab your calendar and save the date for January 18th, 2025, and plan to be with us at headquarters in Chicago as we engage in a day of service and learning. And we'd also like you to save the date for January the 20th, 2025, so that you may be with us as we maintain our tradition of celebrating the birth of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., beginning at 8:30 a.m. at Soldier Field. In order to attend, please visit rainbowpush.org and register for your seat as soon as possible. Now, if you're not already a member of the organization, we need you. Please visit rainbowpush.org and become a member. And if you've been a member and are simply in need of renewing your membership, we ask that you do so. Thank you so much for your continuous support. And remember, keep hope alive.